Hello, world history students. This is Mrs. Politsky, and I have your notes for the beginning of the unit on Africa. And we're going to start with chapter 13, talking a little bit about the kingdoms and states of medieval Africa from around 85 or 500 to about the 1500s. And we're going to start with Africa society and the culture. So, we're going to start first of all talking a little bit about the environment. When you talk about Africa, you really have to think about the geography a little bit. There are certain areas that are of the desert variety. This would include the arid wastelands or even the region of the Sahara Desert. For the course that we're going to be looking at, we're going to be talking primarily about this area south of the Sahara, sub-Saharan Africa. You also have dry woodlands. This would include areas that are woody, typically near the equator. Along with that, you have a Mediterranean climate. Areas that are on the northern side of the continent that border the Mediterranean Sea would be basically this region. But even along the southern tip of Africa, you're going to find a Mediterranean climate. And the Mediterranean climate is one where you have mild winters, fairly warm summers as well. You have a shale, and the shale is usually an area that is nearby uh, a desert climate zone. It's a semi arid area. In Africa, it's typically south of the Saharan Desert. Along with that, you have a savanna. This would include grasslands with scattered trees. There is definitely a wet and dry season, so typically you'll find like monsoons might be impacting this area. It does have agriculture, and it's in these regions that you're going to find some of the more populated areas. And then finally, you have your tropical rainforest. And again, these areas are hot and humid all year long, dense forests, typically along or near the equator. But if you also look at islands like Madagascar, this would also fall in line for that. High rainfalls year round. So when we look at the map, you can kind of get a better idea as far as your climate. Again, the Sahara Desert, any of those areas that are kind of in yellow, that's your desert zones. Those areas that are kind of in the pinkish area in the southern part of the continent and also along the west coast of Madagascar are going to fall into the dry woodland climate. Your Mediterranean areas, again, near the Mediterranean Sea in the northern part of the continent. And then at the very tip, if you look at countries like South Africa, they would certainly have that Mediterranean climate during part of the year. Uh, Along with that, you have your savanna areas. This encompasses a lot of area within Africa itself. That area between the savannas and the Sahara Desert is where you find that shale, where it's kind of an area where you might see like the encroaching desert that kind of impacts the weather there. And then finally, near the equator, you're going to find your tropical rainforest, and then along kind of the east coast of Madagascar. So, continuing on. And number one, Africa's diverse geography has helped shape life on the continent because each region has a different climate and it provides different resources for the people who live there. In each area, different cultures and ways of life have developed. Early African societies share similar cultural patterns in which the people who had once freely roamed began to live together and they eventually formed villages. And at the heart of village life was always the family. Typically, families live together as a clan, and in some parts of rural Africa, you still find that. During Africa's Iron Age, the spread of iron technology changed farming practices, especially in sub Saharan Africa. That's the area of Africa that lies south of the Saharan Desert. And it, in turn, changed African society. All right, thank you very much.